You cannot find a better person to sell your product than you. The reason is, till you sell your product enough number of times, you won't know what to expect of that person. You will not know how to train them on your products, and you will really not know what your client wants. So you have to go there and sell enough number of times yourself to know whether you're really building something that can be sold. And it doesn't matter if you're a tech guy or if you're a product person, because at the end of the day, there's a product and there's a need. You're just going and having a conversation about why, Pritish, you need my product. There's no sales conversation to be had. It's a relationship building that we're doing. Anybody can do it. And the person who can do it best in the initial days, when it's unproven, is the person who is massively passionate about product. And also, Pritish, there is a lot of product iteration that happens after you talk to your clients. Your first few prospective clients, I would like to call them product builders.
My next guest on the 1% project is the very talented and dynamic Aditi Shrivastava. Aditi is the co-founder and CEO of Pocket Aces, India's largest socially distributed content network that includes FilterCopy, Dice Media, Global, Nutshell, and Jambo. Pocket Aces also operates Clout, India's largest digital influencer management practice. In addition, the company incubated Loco, India's largest homegrown game streaming and esports app, which was spun off successfully into a separate entity in 2021. In this conversation, Aditi talks about how, as humans, we are constantly selling and negotiating in our professional and personal lives, how to build, scale, and manage a sales function, the difference between sales and marketing, and much more. If you have any feedback about this conversation, speaker, or topic recommendations, you can drop me a line at pritish@1%.live. Subscribe to the show wherever you're listening to it, and sign up to 1% Project's Think newsletter that brings highly curated content from the internet that adds value to your professional and personal development. Hi Aditi, welcome to the 1% Project.
Hey, Pritish. Thank you so much. Very happy to be here.
Let's start with how was your day?
My day was interesting, pretty typical day. Started with a client meeting where we were talking to an advertiser and trying to build content for their marketing needs. Then we actually went into a monthly P&L review with my HODs, which was everybody talking about their challenges and their growth and trying to solve some problems and build for the future. And then I went to an investor meeting and now I'm here talking to you.
That actually weaves into what we want to talk about is sales. What I understand from your day is that you went into places where either you were pitching or talking about your products and services or somebody else was pitching to you. So how do you think about that?
The way I've always thought about sales, Pritish, is that one is always selling at all points in time to almost every person that they meet, whether it is in your personal life with a spouse or a partner or your parents, your kids. And of course, in professional settings, you're constantly selling an idea of a new product, or you're defending a team member, which is basically selling their value to the company, or having a conversation with a direct client, then obviously they have to buy into your product. So the idea is that for me, a lot of people don't like the word sales. So then I give them many synonyms. If I need to convince you for anything, then I'm selling. If I need to think about what are the pros and cons of me working with you working with me, negotiating anything, keeping our cards on the table, deriving value together, building 1+1 = 3, any of that stuff, that's all sales. For me, it's a part of life. Ever since I've been a small kid and I wanted that extra ice cream, that one day, like that was selling. That, hey, if you give me this, I won't do that, or I'll bring this marks, and so you give me this dress, or whatever it was. So negotiations at the end of the day is a sale for both parties.
That's brilliantly put. We are constantly selling. It's just that we don't term ourselves that we are selling or negotiating.
Yeah.
What role does storytelling play in sales?
Storytelling is all of it, because at the end of the day, you have to convince the other party that there's value in what they're buying. And for that, you first have to build a relationship. You have to come across as genuine, authentic, that you actually care about their interest as well. Then you can discuss the true worth of whatever it is that you're having a conversation about. So, see, it's human to human. And anything which is between two humans is all about building a connection, a friendship, determining a genuine need. Or even if you have a product which is not a need to have, but a good to have, determining how that can build value. And it's all about trust. So traditionally, people think about, oh, taking your client to wine and dine. That's not just to blow away money. It's to get to those deeper levels of conversation, in those traditional settings. Then I can ask about, hey, how's your family? What about your kids? Luckily, we are in 2022 in a world where relationships can very much be informal in the workplace, can very much be informal with your client. I can ask about your family in this conversation and build a connection. But traditionally, that was not the case. Storytelling is a part of relationship building. Humans respond to stories. In fact, I will do the storytelling with you. Let's leave the numbers to our teams because you're the main decision maker. I'm not going to get into it with you with the numbers. Let's keep it at the story level. That's what it means. Two other people can fight about the numbers because the numbers suddenly break the story. They break the connection, they break the relationship. So, yeah, it is all about storytelling.
You brought up numbers. My follow on question was, what is the balance between creativity and numbers?
If you don't have a story and you don't get a buy in, even a very cheap product is not going to be able to sell again and again repeatedly. Very often, and with us also, when we first started FilterCopy as a channel, we were charging more than any other short form channel at that time. And we were able to actually make that sale. Of course, we had shown that the product works with the audience. But when we went to an advertiser and we are charging, say, 15 lakhs for a video, when somebody else is charging 8, they gave us that money because we built the trust, we built the data around what it would mean for them, what ROI they would get. And then the price was then justified by the relationship. Often you will see, ज़्यादा महंगा है लेकिन ज़्यादा चलता है. So it's counterintuitive to many people, but value is in many things. Value is in our relationship. And then, of course, my product has to perform according to whatever story I told you. Otherwise, you can only fool somebody once. If the product doesn't, I can sell you this pen. But then if it doesn't write like I told you it would, next time you're not going to buy it. The product obviously has to follow a good conversation. But I can definitely sell you this pen 2x than perhaps the person next to me. That's the value of my storytelling. And this can be taught because you cannot depend on just great storytellers and identifying them. If they leave, your sales go down.
There is a belief that good salespeople are extroverts. Is that true?
This was a realization a few years ago. As an ambivert, I love talking to people and I love meeting people, but it is energy draining for me. So my recharge happens when I'm alone. So I could be alone with my dog or alone just being a zombie in front of the TV or reading. And that's where my recharge happens, listening to music, etc. A lot of people, the reason they feel that salespeople need to be extroverts are because they think it's a speaking job. But if you just go by what we just talked about, if you're trying to connect with somebody, it is very much a listening job as well. And so I believe that if you listen, then you can customize your story. And that is literally the most important factor in sales. First, I have to know if you use a pen. When do you use a pen? Do you write? Do you take notes on your computer or on your phone? Then I will sell you the pen in that way. To somebody else, I go through a notebook a month. It's very easy to sell a pen to me. I have to observe. So it is as much information ingesting as it is about then customizing my pitch. So I don't think that a person should be either an introvert or an extrovert. They just have to have this realization and this skill. Introverts in many ways, they are scared to go sometimes in front of new people and that kind of stuff. And so what you can do is you can tag tail. I always say 2 people to every meeting because no matter how amazing you are, you miss certain cues, you miss certain things, body language. So if I'm speaking, and I just came from an investor meeting, it was me and my CFO. Even when I'm speaking, my CFO is there to observe their cues, their body language, add on top. When he's speaking, I do the same. So I think you just need to be a good tag team As long as you have people in the room who are doing both listening as well as then customizing and talking, that works. There's no like thumb rule, I would say. Anybody can be a part of a great sales team that goes and consistently builds very strong relationships. And then, of course, the product follows.
That actually brings me to sales versus marketing. Where do you draw the line, and what do these functions actually do? Are they the same?
Today, these functions mean many different things. And in fact, sales and marketing, when it was clubbed together, it was because marketing was actually a pre sales function. And it was a direct pre sales function, which means that, hey, I reach out to you through various ways. That could be through a billboard or through an ad and through just like even a cold call. I would maybe offer you even a discount on the phone. That's marketing. And then somebody would right away follow up and close that. Today, they operate independent of each other. And sometimes there is no sales function and there's a marketing function. Obviously, we know about the pre revenue, high burn companies where a lot of the money is going in marketing. So, this marketing not converting into sales is a brand new concept, I think, over the last probably 15 years maximum, like mostly over the last 5 to 10 years, where a lot of venture capital money has gone into, hey, these people can't actually pay. So you're marketing to a set of people who are not actually paying you. And then like you're doing a different type of marketing to a set of people who are actually paying you. Businesses, they have evolved and have gotten more diverse in terms of the segments of audiences versus clients, B2B to C, etc. Without getting too complicated, today I think largely they are understood as two different functions. In my head, marketing is always pre-sales. If you want to build a profitable company, it has to be that way. A marketing which is brand building has to then result in you being able to get either a higher market share or a higher value for the same product, etc. So your brand equity needs to also translate into sales. So marketing is of various kinds. Either you're building a brand, or you're increasing awareness, or you're basically increasing consideration or conversion. Awareness, consideration, and conversion are technically all pre-sales because they are part of the user journey. Brand building is what everybody spends, like IPL mein mera banner hai. Somewhere the sales function needs to go find that target audience and find a way to convert them cheaper, because that cost of customer acquisition has already been spent. If it doesn't reduce your cost of conversion, then that marketing spend was useless. Back to fundamentals will happen, has been happening for the last year or so. It will continue for the next couple of years. And I think the marketing which is not resulting in ROI that can be attributed to sales will stop in a large way.
How do you think about building sales teams?
It is one of the most complicated things that I have ever had to do. And I've done it in different organizations at different scales. The interesting thing is that in media, where I'm currently building, the sales teams have been around for a very long time. And the interesting part is often the sales and the product don't sit together. And that's where the biggest challenge comes in. Because when I'm storytelling you and trying to solve your challenge via my product, if I'm not sitting with product, I'm not going to be able to do that effectively. Essentially, I'll be able to kind of story tell you just like a generic story and not be able to customize my product on the fly for you as a pitch. Somebody else will have to come and do that. So that's where the sales and solutioning have become like these two different teams. So there's one person जो सिर्फ जाके डोर खोलता है, फिर एक बंदा जाके ये बातचीत करता है, and then तीसरा बंदा जाके actually product provide करता है. I think that traditionally this is how it's worked, and I feel that there's a lot of not only inefficiencies there, the first person is really written off by the client. Sorry, I hope it's okay if I go into Hindi as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, great. वो तो सेलू बंदा है, तो guess what? किसी को उससे बात नहीं करनी. Nobody wants to talk to him. Then the solutions and the content people are actually where your sources who are actually converting the deal. And that makes an ambitious salesperson insecure. and frustrated. What we have done at Pocket Aces is not to distinguish the sales and solutioning. So, because solutioning is what your client is buying, as a salesperson, you should be able to do that. You're not some person who goes and sits on the side and doesn't talk at all. That said, when you're trying to build sales teams, another sort of obstacle that comes into play is this individual contributor who is like an individual salesperson, and what is their growth path. At the bottom levels, everything is great, everything is fine. You train the people, of course, you do the mock pitching, you explain the product, you explain how to listen, the whole thing that I said that we can train. As that person grows in the food chain, basically their targets increase, they get bigger clients, they start managing your key accounts, etc., etc. Then comes a place where they are like, अच्छा अब तो मैं सबसे बड़े account manage कर रहा हूँ, अब मैं क्या करूँ? Then suddenly it's, oh, let me become region head. But guess what? They've never ever managed any other human in their life. And that's when the problem starts coming in while building a sales org. Imagine you have, say, a team of 10. उसमें से say you have 5 very high quality performers who are similar levels, etc. अभी region तो 3 ही है. अब इसमें क्या होता है कि मतलब north, south, west. Okay, like usually these are the regions where most sales team in India are. Now 5 people, 3 regions. Now if you tell them, oh, compete for the regions, or ego is very high. I am your rockstar salesperson. High ego. I've been making this much commission. My client is also as good as their client. And छोटे लोग तो manage हो जाएंगे हमसे. So I think the problem in sales orgs is that nobody realizes that performing individually and motivating other people to perform is actually really difficult. Also, many times lot of salespeople who have now been in only done that as a main job for say like 10 years, the high is in closing that deal, like that clutch moment. You know the client is in your hands. When you become a people manager, you don't get those clutch moments. Your team is getting them on a daily, on a weekly basis, monthly basis, whatever. So you miss that. And then suddenly, so you start going to the meetings, then you start getting some of the clutch moments yourself. You keep some key accounts to yourself. And that's when the team is also confused. He's only closing himself or she's only closing herself. And then the people management and this thing, like, again, people feel that the only way to motivate salespeople other than this kind of growth is like incentives growth. So yesterday I was making 0.5%. Today I'm making 1%. Tomorrow I'm making 2%. And you're separated from the product. So you have no idea about like margin, like bottom line, etc., etc. And the people making the product are like, यार product तो मैं बना रहा हूँ, लेकिन जब वो अच्छा perform करता है, सारा margin तो इसको मिल रहा है. Building a sales org, and I have built many type of teams, Pritish, is like one of the hardest things I've had to do. And so continuously you have to think about different models. You have to continuously think about different ways to incentivize people. And if it's only in the money, then I always believe they are not the fit for whatever product you might be selling. See, back in the day was very different. Or if you have a field sales force, that's very different. You're not caring about culture alignment and etc. To that of an extent. So how did the commission model come by in sales? The base salary was like close to zero. And you ate what you killed. You hunted and then you ate a part of that. यहाँ पे तो आपको बेस सैलरी भी अच्छी चाहिए. क्यों? क्योंकि आपको EMI पे करना है, बच्चे हैं, रेंट है, गाड़ी है, और फिर आपको कमीशन भी वैसा चाहिए जो मतलब वो back in the day wala model. It doesn't work economically. And I think many salespeople find it very hard to get that. There are a few high payers that have built that as like a DNA, and we compete for the same talent. So that's why, see, I say I never want to compete for money for talent. You will come to me I'll give you decent money for sure, but you have to be passionate about my product. Because that solves more than one problem. Then you can solution better, you can talk about the content better, etc. Every 2 years in Pocket Aces, now in just a 7-year journey, we have actually iterated team structures, etc. for sales to align with where we are as a company in terms of product. Earlier, it used to be one sales team sells everything. Then we have done basically a product alignment. We have done a key account versus others. And I think there's nothing wrong with iteration. Depending upon the stage of the business, you have to basically restructure the sales teams. And so the orgs have to be malleable, which means people have to have multiple skill sets. And today, I think high quality resources want to have multiple skill sets and they want to grow in multiple ways. They don't want to get pigeonholed anyway. So it is a hard thing to do, but I think you continuously keep talking this language that, hey, you will get an experience of selling one more thing, or you will, okay, let's start to manage 2 small resources first, and then we'll see whether you're ready for region head, etc. I think this kind of stuff works. Usually, they're happy if they're in a fast growing environment, but the org building is still something which takes a lot of time.
So these guys are like making you the money.
Yes.
And then obviously, once they do that, they are looking for getting the word. So you need to balance it for them and help them. Because as you correctly said, usually they are one man team.
Yeah.
They just don't know how to manage them because they don't have the experience. It's not that they can't be great leaders,
Yeah.
but they just don't have the experience. It's like giving a child some sand. The child doesn't know what to do with it. As you grow old, you can find a lot of purpose.
100%. 100%.
Let's go to day one, Pocket Aces. When you guys were starting off, do you think that founders should be the key salespeople?
You mean key revenue generators? Because as we said, everybody is a salesperson for something or the other. Even your CTO is selling. In today's like tech market, they are selling every day to a prospective person who needs to join them or who wants to leave them.
Let me rephrase that. Do you think founders can outsource revenue generation or business creation to other key members in the initial days?
I don't think so. And there are 2 reasons. The reason is not because you cannot find a better person to sell your product than you. The reason is, till you sell your product enough number of times, you won't know what to expect of that person. You will not know how to train them on your products, and you will really not know what your client wants. So you have to go there and sell enough number of times yourself to know whether you're really building something that can be sold. And it doesn't matter if you're a tech guy or if you're a product person, because at the end of the day, there's a product and there's a need. You're just going and having a conversation about why, Pritish, you need my product. There is no sales conversation to be had. It's a relationship building that we're doing. Anybody can do it. And the person who can do it best in the initial days, when it's unproven, is the person who is massively passionate about product. And also, Pritish, there is a lot of product iteration that happens after you talk to your clients. Your first few prospective clients, I would like to call them product builders. The conversations with the first few brands that me or Anirudh or Ashwin had, they gave us an idea very much of, we didn't even know how to price our product. आपका exact कौन सा metrics लोगों को चाहिए measure करने के लिए, और आपका price क्या होगा, and on what will it be based. Today is not the real world of a cost plus model. If I'm selling a pen and cost me 10 rupees, yeah, I can sell it to you for 12 rupees. But today, everybody wants to sell it to you for 20. So how am I going to prove the premium to you? It's only dependent on 2 things. One, your need. And how can I tell you that my product needs it? And second is, what are the competitor products? And competitor products मैं use करके देख सकती हूँ. But guess what? If you perceive the competitor product to be better than it is, and I have never spoken to you, then I'm going to be optimizing for God knows what. So the perception sets the price in today's world. And so that's called brand, or that is called what the relationship. या आप उसको कोई भी नाम दे दो, but it is a perception. It's a goodwill. It's an equity value. It's a brand value. That sets the price. And I can sample all the other pens. But if you have a favorite pen because of something, and I want to sell you my pen, I have to know which is your favorite pen from before, and I have to tell you why mine is better. So I feel that the founders, no matter what their profile, age, background, etc., need to have the first few sales that they do themselves. By sale, I mean like money in the bank. And then 100% they should hire a sales expert who will then do the kind of sale that their product requires. When we started, our entire requirement of sales was educational. मुझे पता भी नहीं था कि ऐसा कुछ होता भी है, क्योंकि मैंने कभी एजुकेशनल सेल्स किए नहीं थे. बट व्हेन आई स्टार्टेड गोइंग आउट टू क्लाइंट्स, आई रियलाइज कि अरे मुझे तो समझाना पड़ रहा है मैक्रो पिक्चर. डिजिटल क्यों इंपॉर्टेंट है, ट्यूमर्स यहाँ क्यों हैं, डिजिटल में डिस्प्ले और कंटेंट इंटीग्रेशन कैसे अलग होता है. तो मतलब educational is like you need a lot of patience. So then I have to, and you need a person who can explain better, which means I need to know a back end. I need to know my numbers. I need to know my product inside out. Then you need to hire a salesperson of that nature. Cut to 5 years later, when I am doing OTT sales, educational नहीं है, सबको पता है. Web series pitching is storytelling. I have to narrate. I have to tell you about the characters. And yes, I can call in my creative guy to do that. But first, I have to open the doors and get you to a point. Otherwise, the creative guy will be like, I'm not coming for the meeting. So I have to be a storyteller of that script, not just a storyteller of your need and my product in general. Cut to, if I have nutshell, we are selling nutshell as, hey, XYZ brand, come and buy the entire finance category on my channel. Now, why can we do that? We can do that because Pocket Aces, FilterCopy, Dice, Gobble, all of these have built already like great brand. Now, Nutshell is just riding on top of these. Secondly, I'm going back to the same advertisers that I already work with on my other channels. And then thirdly, my product is such that it's a volume product. So then I need a very different type of person. Then I'll get the people who sell ads on a TV network. So same company, different products. So not only that, different stages of the company, I need completely different salespeople. And you will never know that only if you never tried to go and do that sale.
How do you manage sales rejection?
Rejection is a huge part of life in general. I want to cover another topic with this because failure and success within a company for salespeople gets discussed extremely objectively, and everybody believes they can comment on it. But failure and success of a product is often a team's or a company's failure as a whole. That's a very hard thing when you're in sales. It's because somebody can literally say, you didn't close that deal. That's actually the hardest thing about sales. Depending upon the kind of product, one part of our business deals with advertisers. So there's 500 advertisers. So there's coverage that you do. So you divide your teams into regions, etc. Then you're doing coverage. So then there's a funnel. So the rejection is part of the funnel. Basically, it gets narrower because of the rejections at every stage. And I think how to maintain the relationship, how to not take it personally, and how to go back with a renewed pitch the next time is part of it. And go into this little bit more in detail. On the other side, if we are selling to streaming platforms, गिन चुन के 7 streaming platform है. Now, funnel is not exactly the way to sell there. There, it's an all or nothing very often. Either you can sell to some of these 7 or you suddenly have an unsold product. Here, 500 में से कोई तो खरीद लेगा. And I can sell it in bits and pieces. Na? So if I have a web series selling to advertisers, I can either sell it all to one brand or I can divide it up, title sponsor, powered by sponsor, associate sponsor. किसी को बस एक ही एपिसोड बेच दिया. So I have a lot of maneuvering room to design my product for different appetite. And it's not a binary sale. Like my little like can add up. Here, it's binary. So in a way, it's easier to cover the entire market, have great relationships, etc. But it's binary. बिका या नहीं बिका, आधा सीरीज तो नहीं बेच सकते आप किसी प्लेटफॉर्म को. Based on these, you have to emotionally prepare your team very differently, and the strategy is completely different. One is parallel sales. If you could, 500 लोगों के पास same time पे चले जाओ. It's sequential. You prioritize, you sequential everything. Emotionally, as a leader, you have to award the effort and the process followed well. That's another big problem in sales because often closures are celebrated. I am also guilty of this in my sales review meetings. अगर number अच्छा है, then I don't go into the detail. I'll go into the detail अगर number में problem है. This is something which we are all guilty of. And actually, it's like the worst thing you can actually do. Because you might have a rock star closing deals without following due process in a very non-repeatable manner. वो चला गया तो then it's a big problem. Whereas you might have a more meticulous resource closing slower. doing things the right way, handovers, check marks, this, that. So I think you have to also celebrate process. You have to celebrate if somebody did coverage very well. The intermediate steps on a funnel have to be celebrated. And in some way, the closure, there is a little bit of luck, timing, all of that. So sales rejection is a real thing. It demotivates people majorly, especially if their peers are doing well. And so as a leader, you can celebrate small wins or intermediate wins. You can also make sure that you're continuously dividing your clients well. These are competitive folk. The peer comparison means a lot. So make sure that all of them have an equal share of the potential pie. All of them have some very easy to convert clients, some more difficult, and some very hard ones. And then you can award more on the hard ones. But वो basic numbers सबको कर लेने चाहिए. Lot of iteration, lot of motivation. Some leaders will do it just with drinks, and some leaders will do it differently. There are many ways, but it's a real thing. And everybody will question it. Whereas if your product doesn't perform, first of all, it's not such a 0 or 1. Secondly, you can hide it. And thirdly, it's often a team failure versus an individual failure.
What is the nicest thing that anybody has done for you?
It's a hard question, but I think I would definitely say that there are people in my life who are either my parents or my husband, etc. A couple of my professors in college who made me believe that I can do anything that I want. That vote of confidence in your capability takes you very far in how you conduct yourself, in your belief in yourself, removing self-doubt, being secure, and hence seeking help. The nicest thing that anyone has ever done for me is told me that I can believe in myself, that I am capable of doing anything that I want to if I put my mind to it. Honestly, I think that's the greatest gift that I also try to give, especially to the young women that I work with, because often women are more ambivalent about their success. They are confused whether their ambition is a good thing. This is something that I'm personally very passionate about. If somebody can make you believe in yourself, then I think the sky is the limit for every single person.
Brilliant. Before we close, what would you like your legacy to be?
This is an easy answer because I have thought about this for many years. Pritish, see, I honestly want to I want to create a positive impact on the world via my work. I used to work in impact investing before. And that was a very direct way to create impact. I used to literally work with social enterprises, etc. When I came into media, my thought process was that even though I will be a few levels removed, the scale of impact I can create in the youth of this country will be significant. So I think for me, I want to be remembered as somebody who built something that lasted beyond themselves, beyond them. So you have to build something that lasts and that really influenced people and this planet in a positive way. Honestly, for me, that is literally the most important two North Star metrics of my own life.
Aditi, that's a great place to close this conversation. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you so much, Pritish. I had a lovely time talking to you. Very introspective, actually.